Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Village Law SEQFC preview show. My name is Darren. Thank you for joining us. We've had some good numbers with the show so far this year, so thank you for your support. We hope you continue to take in our comments as the season progresses, as a few more competitions come online. Last weekend, a few more competitions did come online, didn't they? And these upsets, they just kept on rolling in. So let's talk about it all. Let's bring in our regulars first. We've got Tony Jorkis. G'day, Tony.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. And we've got the Ipswich Express. G'day, Lliam.
Everybody, how are you all? Thank you for having me on again.
Wonderful. All right, guys. Let's start with the NPL men's. There's some unlikely candidates at the bottom of the ladder. Peninsula Power, 2 games, nil Dupois. Olympic, nil Dupois. Rochdale Rovers, nil Dupois. Discuss.
Oh, look, first few rounds, isn't it? Everyone's still trying to find their feet, trying to get their combination set and together, and yeah, it's I think Moreton Bay United have certainly got their crap together, haven't they? I mean, 6 points, 2 from 2, good on them, good start.
And not only that, Lions FC, 2 points.
I don't know what's going on.
3 points.
It's incredible. But isn't it good though? It means that it's not just going to be, well, so far there's indications are it's not just going to be the usual top 4, is it? We all picked where the top 4 would be at the end of the season, and may still go that way. Who knows? But look, there's been some upsets there. There's been some interesting results, and look where we are. Isn't it great?
Yes, my spies at Power tell me that they've only made a couple of mistakes in their games so far, but everyone they've made has been punished.
There you go.
So well done to their opposition. Tony, what do you make of it all?
I'm surprised where Power is. I'm more surprised where Olympic is, because I thought they've got, of all those teams, when you looked at the draw at the beginning, Olympic had Moreton Bay, Redlands, and they go to Sunny Coast Wanderers this Sunday. You would have thought they would have been expecting some points from those 3 games. So, yeah, I can't work it out, but I did say they wouldn't make the 6.
Yeah, so early pressure on Royce Brownlee, but...
I wouldn't say pressure, but, Jesus, you lose another one and you're not from 3, what happens?
That's exactly right. I mean...
You start looking at NPL 1 and look where the addresses are for the fields for next year.
Wouldn't quite go that far, but yes, it's. But as you said before, Liam, great to see that.
Yeah, it is. And look, maybe we shouldn't be making too much of it with it being the first few rounds of the season. But look, if you want to stamp your authority on the competition and the league, you want to be winning, or showing signs of good form at the start of the season, because ultimately at the back end of the season, you never know. Those silly losses you had at the very beginning can come back and bite you. So, yeah, you want to be hoping that your luck turns around soon enough.
Definitely. Peninsula Power look to get themselves on the board when they take on Raw Youth. Lions hosting Brisbane City in the Briz Classico. Yeah. Knights taking on Moreton Bay United. So that, I'll tell you what, if Moreton Bay come away from that game with the 3 points, well, hello, competition.
Oh, you don't want to call it, do you?
I reckon Gold Coast, I think Gold Coast Knight will smack Moreton Bay this week.
Right, you think they'll come good?
I reckon they will belt them.
All right. Gold Coast United are taking on Eastern Suburbs, and it's time to bring in our first guest here. We've got Sarah Evans, who's the coach of the Gold Coast United NPL women's team. G'day, Sarah.
Hi guys.
Welcome to the show. Now, you told me just before we went to air that you do take a little bit of an interest in the men's team. You do get to watch them occasionally. How are they going to go against East? Gray's got a good team going this year.
He has. He's got a good bunch of lads, and it was a fantastic start to the season against the old rivals down the road there in the Gold Coast Derby. So 3-0 win there, I think it was. A few of us went to the game, so it was a good game, good result. The draw last week against the Raw, so they're probably looking to bounce back against East this week. But East are a tough team, men in both the men's comp and the women's comp. They're an organised team, but the lads look good. They look good in training, so we'll see what they can do.
Let's switch now to your bread and butter here, Sarah. Well, sorry, someone else?
No.
No, we're good? Okay. So let's switch now to the NPL Women's. And Sarah, you are top of the league. You're top of the league. After Lions lost their first match in 61 rounds. Incredible. I commented during the week that I will fight anyone who tries to say that Rob Askew is not the best coach in Southeast Queensland. Amazing performance. And the record that they beat was actually his own from when he was at the Gap. And Sarah, you're now on top of that competition ahead of Rob Askew and Lions. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't complain. It's been a great start by everyone involved. So there was a short pre-season, or what I call a short pre-season, is 6 weeks, and then suddenly we're playing at the start of February, which was, I was in the UK until the 9th of January. So had 4 or 5 weeks to get the girls fit, and we wanted to hit the ground running, and we wanted to have a better start than last season, and that's what we've gone out and done. We've just, but it's all well and good, like we've just touched on, it's early days. It's, 5th round this week, and we've just got to maintain the level and maintain the consistency and keep going and take every game, every week as it comes.
You're scoring goals for fun at the moment, Sarah. What do you put that down to?
The fact that we struggled last year, and that was one of our biggest focus points and our biggest markers for this year, was that we needed to find more goals from somewhere, and thankfully they're coming from everywhere at the moment. So I think when the confidence is up, it's easy to find the net. So we've just got to keep that confidence up and keep it. Starts in training. We keep the confidence up in training, keep the intensity up in training, and hopefully it transcends onto the field. So
the club's always done quite well in the women's competition. Is there anything different about your squad this year?
Well, obviously, the difference is we lost 2 stalwarts of Gold Coast United, 2 absolute legends in Ellie Fryer and Dee Thompson. We say we lost them, but they're still behind the scenes. Trust me, they're still sticking their heads up and encouraging the girls and supporting the girls. So we haven't lost them completely. But look, the 23s that we had, I did 23s my first year here. So I earmarked a number of players for bringing them up into the senior setup. And then my first year, last year, I kind of was bringing them in off the bench and giving them minutes. And then I've decided that, that this is their year and to bring them up fully into the women's setup this year. And they've taken it in their stride, and that's created, we've got a good squad. We've got good squad depth, and it's created a little bit of competition for places. And I think that drives everyone to perform to their utmost, and it's transcending onto the field, which is fantastic for us.
And you're taking on Eastern Suburbs this weekend. So they've just beaten Lions. So tough fixture.
Yeah, East is always tough. They're a bit of a bogey team for us, I believe, from history. So, they'll be buzzing after what they've just achieved. So, what Lions achieved was outstanding. You can't dispute it. But East stepped up and they took that away, and they're going to be chomping at the bit to move on with this. They had a slow start to the season by their standards. With 2 draws and struggled to find the net, but they're not conceding many either. So I think they've only conceded 2, and then we're next with only conceding 3. So defensively they're sound, and then they're 3-1 against the Sunshine Coast. So they've started to find the net there, and then they've finished it off last week with banging 3 past the Lions. So they're starting to find their rhythm now, and move on from that a little bit of a slow, stuttery start. So it'll be a tough fixture for us.
Sunny Coast Wanderers are hosting QAS. Mitchelton take on Souths. Lions look to bounce back against Capalaba. Peninsula Power hosting Olympic. From these teams, Sarah, obviously we know Lions are going to be a threat. Who are you most worried about?
I think the dark horse for me is Penn Power. I think is a bit of a dark horse for me. East, I think, are going to be up there. We played Penn Power in pre-season, and from what I saw then to what I've seen in these last couple of games, they're starting to really get to the form that they were in that FQPL1 and really starting to gel and play really well together and score goals. I mean, they put 5 past Capalaba on the weekend. So Penn Power, for me, I think are ones to be watching. Easts, definitely. I don't think there's going to be an easy fixture. I mean, we played Says 2 weeks ago and it was a tough game. I mean, we came out 2-0, but it was a tough game. And I think every game's going to have a bit of that in it. So I think every team needs to be on to get a result. So there's no easy team.
Good stuff. All right, thanks for that, Sarah. Hopefully you stick around and we can chat a little bit more at the back end of the show. Let's chat now about FQPL1 men, and we've got another guest with us this evening. His name is Adam Bennett. He's been at a few clubs, but this year he's popped up at Mitchelton. Adam, welcome.
Hey, Darren, how you going?
Good. So, you're at Mitchelton FC. Tell us about life at the Mustangs.
No, it's been good so far. It's obviously taken a couple of years off recently, so it's been good to get back into it. And the club's been really supportive.
Sound dropped out there for a sec. It sounded like club was really supportive. How did you go with your squad this year? Obviously,
we might have had a bit of a slower start. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah, you've taken over this year. What have you done with the squad?
Look, we've got a fair few back from last year, so probably close to sort of 10 or 12 from last year's first team back, which has been good. And then we've obviously added in a few guys from various other clubs into the mix to try and give the squad a pretty good balance, a bit of experience in a few areas. And obviously we've had a few young guys come through from our 18s last year. So our 18s last year were pretty successful in their comp. So half a dozen or so of those guys at least have come through into the 23s, and they look really promising for this year and beyond.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more question before I hand over to Lliam so that you two can nerd out about this competition. I'll ask you the same question that I asked Sarah. Who are the ones that you're really concerned about this year? Is it Logan, who were the only undefeated team so far? Is it Strikers, or is there someone else that?
I'll probably give you a cliche coach's answer, to be honest. I mean, I think on their day, any team can beat any team, and the reality for us is that we've just got to try and concentrate on us and control what we can control, and that's our own performance, and obviously try and improve each week. I really think that each team could beat each team on their day. Obviously Logan have started well. There's maybe been a fair bit of press around the Strikers pre-season and whatnot. So I suppose those couple of sides, maybe people might be talking about a little bit more, but the reality is that the top four could look like anyone at the end of the year. So
over to you, Lliam.
Hey, I just want to go through the FQPL1 there, because those that don't know that I'm actually a little bit behind the Western Pride as an Ipswich lad. So just having a look at this competition's results over last weekend is the Apollo Thunder game. That was a cracker game. I think it went tit for tat there for a while, and it was a good result. 3-3 all in the end. I think Thunder. I think they were down 3-2 in the last and kind of came back in the last 5 minutes there. So another cracking game to watch was the Capalaba Sunshine Coast FC. I think from Brian Hastings would be very, very happy with the result there. At home, it looked like it was going to be a draw there for a while, for the last few minutes in the game there, and eventually they got one in the closing stages. So that was a cracking game to watch. Obviously the Mitchelton Strikers result, as we just talked about. I think a lot of pressure on Strikers at the moment. They're a team that they are who they are in the competition, and they've had a mixture of results in the Cap Pro series, and now they've had so there's a bit of pressure on them to be coming through and probably doing better than what they probably are. I mean, yes, I think they're only second. I think they're second or third on the ladder, I think, at the moment. So, I mean, yeah, they're up the top there. But look, it wouldn't surprise me if they start slipping down the ladder a bit through the season if they don't start improving their results. Pride Wolves as well. That was a 0-0 in the end. Look, there was a few shots on goal there. I was at the ground there. I was behind goal there, and both teams had their chances, but we just I don't know, just nothing to get through. Both the keepers had good games, made a couple of good saves. So look, I mean, I think Pride would want to be higher than where they are as well after their loss to Fire last week. So yeah, it's been an interesting round there. So just looking at the ladder, yeah, we got Logan, who basically came straight down, and looks like they're leading the pack there. We got Strikers, Ace. Now, I didn't think Ace would be up where they are at the moment after their pre-season mixture of pre-season results, but so yeah, and then Apollo and 4 Eagles down the bottom there with nothing. So yeah, looking at the ladder there, Adam, what is there anything there that perhaps shocks you at all in any of that? I know we're only 2 rounds in.
Yeah, I suppose that's the reality, isn't it? We're only 2 games in, so I think we'll learn. We'll start to sort of see things sort of unfold, I suppose, over the next few weeks. But I heard Nick Green say it the other day. I mean, to be honest with you, no one really cares about the table until the last ball's kicked on the last day. So a lot of movement, and I think the league is going to be a really tough league. You look at all those clubs, and you could probably throw, you could throw a blanket over a lot of them, or the majority of them. So it's just going to be a really tight league all the way through. So
yeah, I mean, certainly Logan certainly put their hand up, haven't they? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. You go ahead, Liam.
Oh no, I was just basically saying, that Logan were unlucky to be there, with last year's fiasco with Raw Youth. So it'd be good to see them kind of go straight back up where they were. But yeah, I mean, look, Apollo, look, they're gonna hoping for some big results soon. I mean, at the end of the day, it's only 2 rounds, so maybe we're looking way too much into it. So we should probably just move on from that. But,
that would be
I keep saying that. So for the next round coming up, some good crackers there. So you're going to have the Coast Derby there, from one end to the other. You're going to have Sunny Coast to host Apollo. That's going to be a good game. Both teams will want to be proving their point there. Strikers will want to bounce back. Adam, Thunder and Mitchie, you travel to Toowoomba.
Yep.
Good, nice facilities up there at Toowoomba.
We're actually not playing at Clive Berghofer this weekend, so we're actually out at West Wanderers.
Oh, look at that. It says West Wanderers right underneath there, so you are right. Oh.
So a good trip up there early in the season when it's not too cold. So we'll go up there, and we'll be confident that we can sort of put on a good performance, and hopefully that's enough to get us the points.
Yeah, they play the e-ball codes at Clive Berghofer early in the season, so football can have it at the end. Anyway,
any play in particular with Thunder this early in the season that's kind of taken your eye that you need to prepare for? Any combinations there at all?
Look, no, to be honest with you, look, I mean, I haven't sort of no one sort of has sort of stood out for us to, I suppose, to keep a specific eye on specifically. There's obviously a fair few good players there. Obviously, Mirko's been there for a few years and he's led them really well. And obviously Sam, the coach has been there for a few years as well, so they'll be sort of fairly well drilled. And again, like I said earlier, there'll be a fairly solid side. They've been there or thereabouts the last few seasons, so you'd expect that they'll probably be wanting to put on a good performance at home. And like I said, hopefully we can play well and we can get the job done.
Good stuff, Adam. Thank you for that. Now, let's move on to the FQPL2 men. We've got yet another guest. His name's Danny. I call him Danny G. He's the head coach at St. George Wollongong. G'day, Danny.
Hi, Darren. Thanks for having me.
Yes. You're back at St. George. How does it feel? Like a pair of old slippers?
A little bit like that, yeah. Yeah, it has been a welcome return and enjoyed it. It's been a good pre-season and obviously we started last week on a positive note. So, onwards and upwards from here. But I just wanted to say quickly, did Adam not get the memo that there's no cliches allowed from coaches on this show?
Hey, Danny, it's my debut, mate. You got to expect me to pull out a few cliches, surely, don't you?
Fair enough.
I'm not going to give any. I'm not going to give anything away on my first episode. No secrets just yet.
You did give away 2 points to the strikers last weekend.
Yeah, good shout, Tony. Good shout. We were down to 9 men in the last minute, though.
I know.
10 men for 55 minutes, but
I still thought you had them.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people did, but we move on.
All right, let's get back to Danny, shall we? Danny, tell us about the competition this year. It looks to be a cracker.
Yeah, I think they all are, aren't they? And we talk about the NPL and the QPL1, and I think this competition is in line with those. The leagues are really starting to level out with, thankfully, promotion relegation now across the pyramid. So, yeah, look, another very competitive division, and pre-season results are exactly that. They're pre-season results, and the real stuff started last week. And it's one round. And like you guys are talking about QPL1 and the NPL, still early days, but I think there's all the signs that it'll be a competitive league and it'll be hotly contested at both ends of the table.
What's the expectation at the club this year? Is it a matter of finding your feet, or is it straight up the ladder you go?
If I use Adam's approach, we take it 1 week at a time. But I think St. George, I don't mean to pick on Adam, but no, if the St. George approach is win, so that's essentially what it is week to week. The ambition is to move onwards and upwards as the club has. And, anyone that knows the club's recent history, only joined Football Queensland in 2016 and now it finds itself in QPL2 through promotions and success, and not necessarily any licensing or anything like that has made its way into the QPL2 competition. So yeah, it's a club that demands success and wants success, and working hard behind the scenes for the off-field stuff to catch up with what's happening on field. And yeah, so there is an expectation that we'll be looking to have a successful year.
Seeing as you avoid cliches, Danny, what's the thing that St. George do that's better than the other clubs?
So, that's a really good question. And it's not necessarily something that perhaps, I don't know, it's an environment thing. And a lot of players that have perhaps moved on, obviously the club's played at QPL3 or Brisbane Premier League level in recent years, and players have moved to, higher levels and higher clubs have returned. And there's a couple of boys that were at Brisbane Strikers last season were keen to return to the club. And I think it's just an environment that is for the players, perhaps for those that support the club, one that is welcoming and perhaps not so welcoming for those that are visiting for any games on any particular weekend. But from I think from providing a culture and an environment that gives players the best opportunity to be successful and to win football games is probably the one thing that sticks out for me, and the one thing that was a key to my return as well.
Speaking of returns, this weekend you're going back to Whites Hill to face your old club, Holland Park. How's that going to be?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, that was a relationship for 3 years that I enjoyed and ended in the most appropriate and proper manner. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up with everyone again. And Gab stepped in and has put together a good squad, and I'm expecting a very, very competitive game on Friday.
Good stuff. All right. I'm wondering if there's anything. We'll just run through a couple of the fixtures there. The North Lakes United up against North Star. That's a potential derby that we've got in this competition, so that could be interesting. Maroochydore hosting Magic. Oh, gee, that's a journey. Broadbeach hosting Taringa. South United up against Samford, and Knights taking on Thistle. Danny, I'll get you to just nominate a couple of clubs that, I mean, we did our predictions last weekend. Who are the clubs that you think are going to be up there?
Yeah, look,
Apart from yourselves,
I think,
Benny, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Yes, Adam, of course, apart from ourselves. Yeah, everyone else, are they playing for second? I'm not sure.
They are.
Right, thanks, Tony. Broadbeach, I think everyone's talking about, have looked really impressive in pre-season, have had some good results, and then started the season with a strong performance at Grange. Look, I thought Taringa did really well against Thomond Park, played some good football, and Marco coaches his boys quite well, so they could push on and maybe improve on last year. But I think Broadbeach is probably one that stands out. Magic, obviously, with that result, we played Magic in pre-season. They were probably the best team we played in pre-season. We played a wide range of opponents across the leagues, and they were probably the ones that stood out. So I think they're going to be a much improved outfit from last year. Not that they weren't very good last year, but they've retained some of the quality they had and have added to it with Brett on board as well. So I expect that they'll be up there. Look, South were a handful on the weekend, and then Samford, obviously, always going to be competitive and started with a good result as well. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a competitive league, and I think, as always, that that first round will sort everyone out, and then by mid-year we'll probably know who the real contenders are.
Good stuff. All right. Now, I just want to quickly go through the other leagues before we wrap up the show. So I just want to mention the FQPL 3 women. That kicked off on the weekend. Looking at those fixtures, what sticks out? Maybe Wolves against Springfield United. I think that should be an interesting game. FQPL 3, that started. Virginia taking on Manfred Bat. Take a bit of interest in that one. Tony, what about Pine Hills going to Acacia Ridge?
Probably a tough one there. Looking forward to going out. I haven't been there for years. But
yeah.
There's some. You thought about upsets in other leagues. What about North Pine on the weekend got held up? Newmarket. Yeah. So there's not going to be any easy games in that league either.
I'll tell you why North Pine lost on the weekend. I was down there on the Saturday morning. All of the first team were there doing the working bee, moving stuff all over the place, working their buttocks off. They'd have been absolutely naked by the time the game started. That's the excuse, and we'll stick to that.
That's going to be a tough comp.
But yes, Centenary Stormers certainly put their hand up, didn't they? So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch them over the next few weeks and see how they crack on. All right. Now, Sarah's just messaged to say that she's left, which is a shame to bring her into the Gold Coast local competitions. FQPL 4, guys, anything to mention there? Take that as a no. Let's have a look at those South Coast men's competitions. Big games there. Palm Beach taking on Gold Coast Knights. Musgrave hosting Murwillumbah. Coomera up against Rabina. Expect Rabina to win that, and I think I was a little light on talking up Rabina. I think we're going to be talking them up as the season gets on. So we'll leave Vernon, we'll get him back on the show. All right, the FQPL 3 women's, that starts this weekend. I'll give you the preview. Palm Beach are going to storm that competition. although they are taking on Gold Coast Knights, so they're going to be the two teams in that league. Gianna Thompson, who Sarah was talking about before, and Ellie Fryer. I think it might just be Dee that's playing for Palm Beach. So look out for the Sharks this year. Gold Coast Knights, new club, but they are stacked. Gary French is the coach, former NPL women's coach at South United. He's got a crack team together, and if this is the league that they're playing in, they're going to do extremely well. Guys, that's the run through the leagues. I don't want to go too deep into the ones. Let's focus on the guests that we've got here and the leagues that we're all familiar with. So, Tony, what have you got to throw into the mix, mate?
I don't know, mate. I just think some of the big clubs in the NPL have to start winning games. Because you don't want to be chasing your tail halfway through the season, having to win 8 from 8 or 9 from 9.
Yeah, you can't win the league in the first couple of rounds, but you certainly can lose it, can't you?
Well, winning is a habit. Losing can become a habit as well.
There's a few cliches getting thrown around here.
Yeah, what's going on with the cliches?
I must admit, Darren, Tony, jeez.
I'm waiting for Adam Bennett to give us a prediction of where the Mustangs are going to finish instead of one game at a time.
Don't know if you'll get that out of me, Tony.
I'll tell you what, Adam, we'll give you a chance. I understand you've got a position vacant at your club at the moment.
Oh, yeah. So, so just due to a change in personal circumstances, our team manager position has become vacant. So we are on the lookout for a team manager. If there is anyone out there that would like to be involved, reach out, hit us up on Facebook or reach out to the club. Trying to get Tony back involved, but getting him back into the management circles. He did a great job there at Mitchie.
We had a good year. A couple of good years at Mitchie, actually. Yes, I can't deny that.
So what
topic, by the way, we're looking for one at St. George as well. So, and we anyone that's interested, we pay by Chirapi. So if anyone's had a St. George,
I need a visa to get out there. Jesus.
Yeah, but how good are the Sharks though?
Yes, but I can always go by Woodman Park and have some laggies, so they're just as good.
Job, Jenny.
Enough.
Make sure those games don't coordinate.
Tony, actually, well, tell you what, help these guys out, Tony. What makes a good manager?
I think the manager's job isn't that hard. You've just got to make sure that you do your job, make sure that the dressing rooms are prepared, talking to the boys, make sure there's no issues, no whinging. And it's just how you manage people. It's not that hard.
Tape, Tony. What about tape?
What about the tape? There's other strappers and things like that use all that. If the club is in position to have all those positions ready, the manager's job is
I think, Danny, as well, you've got to have a few headbands in your kit bag these days as well. As I understand, they break pretty easily. The guys are always yelling out for a few headbands. So.
I don't have any. Just make sure that and I enjoy doing it. I really do. It's just being team environment and things like that. Yeah.
I agree, Tony. I think when we say it's an important role, there is a bit of, I suppose, almost to glorify it. There's a bit of an art to it, and the people that enjoy it, obviously, like yourself, as you have in the past, are good at it and provide lots of value both to the playing group, but then they're the link between the playing group, the coaches, and then the committee, club, and all those sorts of things. So it is a really it's an all-encompassing role, and sometimes it perhaps doesn't get the recognition that it deserves.
You've got to be willing to. And now at Pine Hills, Leo only wants me there Thursday nights and the games. So I'll turn up tomorrow night, have a laugh with the boys for a bit, and turn up on Saturday ready to go. The old days, you used to carry the old dirty jerseys, you have to wash them and things like that. Now you don't even have to do that.
Why? Why not?
Well, we used to. I remember the Strikers bought us a washing machine in 2005 and 6, so we can wash them there. So we finished the game, dumped them straight in, and Robert Bentley will hang them up the next day.
It's funny, Danny, just hearing you talk there about the qualities of a manager has made me think about all the really good ones that there are out there. And there are some fantastic people out there doing this role.
There are. I'm going to bump into one of them tomorrow. So shout out to Gibbo, who's the team manager at Holland Park. I didn't focus too much on recruiting players. I was trying to get Gibbo across to St. George, but it was never going to happen. He's a Hawkeys fan through and through. But he's a prime example of the types of values that you look for in your team managers. So yeah, absolutely, it's a role that is important and like I said, doesn't always get the recognition. So yeah, shout out to all the team managers because it is an.
It's about how you talk and how you manage. It's along with everything now. It's too much political correctness. You know, the old days would tell them all where to go. You can't do that anymore. So you've got to treat them like koalas and just go on.
Adam, 3 years out, is that what you said? 3 seasons out of the game and now you're back?
Yeah, a couple seasons out, yeah.
What's been the big change, mate? I'm sure it's got to be the mullet haircuts, isn't it?
I won't say anything controversial here. I said something. No. Pardon? What was that, Tony?
Let it rip. Don't be scared.
Obviously, I think there's a lot better players running around at lower levels probably than what they were a few years ago. Obviously, there's a little bit more money floating around at clubs lower down, so the talent has been spread a fair bit, and I think that has affected the depth at a lot of clubs. That's probably been one of the more significant things I've noticed definitely coming into this level. That's probably one of the bigger sort of changes, I'd say. And then to be honest with you, going back, when I spent significant time at Taringa, obviously there was a reserve grade team there. Now sort of things have changed now where you've got an age cap on your second team. So that's a real different dynamic now into senior football where, 3 years ago you'd have, you'd experienced players running around in reserves and you have your young guys coming through and they'd be really getting, I suppose, taught or educated, in that environment. But now, they're coming through with players all around their same age. So it is a very different dynamic. But, it's definitely got its pros. You're getting some really good players come through if you can keep a hold of them. And if they're not attracted by, first team or a little bit more money down at those lower levels. So, Sorry, nothing controversial. Just yet.
And the flip side of that is a lot of young guys will potentially get their shot, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, like I alluded to earlier, I mean, we had a really good 18s group from last year. Half a dozen of those have come through into our 23s. And really there's been a few of them that have had exposure during pre-season as well. And when we look ahead, 6-12 months or even sooner, there's a few of those players who, we feel would be confident to step into that first team in the short, medium and long term. So that's definitely the opportunities that exist with us at the moment. But I think that's the case at most clubs.
Yeah, just in discussing that, you've reminded me of something that I learnt on the weekend, that for those of you that are into predicting matches and all that sort of thing, that the Raw youth were of the understanding that they could play their A-League players that weren't getting games in the NPL. They can, but they've got to be under 23. So they're blocked from playing any players, bringing any of the players down that are over 23 years old. So just a little tidbit for you there.
Okay. Is that an internal rule, is it, with the Raw youth? Or?
Yeah, FQ have come down on them with that. They were of the understanding that they could play anyone that they wanted and just get some game time for them. But no, the directive is in, under 23s only. There you go. I've been in contact with all the clubs that have nominated for the National Second Division and doing a bit of research there. I'm really liking what I'm hearing from these clubs, guys. I can see three Southeast Queensland's clubs getting licenses. I really like what the Fire are doing, or what their plans are. I think Brisbane United, it's a fantastic model, and I'm not sure if it will happen, but I would love for all the other Brisbane bidding clubs, with the possible exception of Power, I think they could quite easily geographically do it on their own. But all the other clubs, like there's Brisbane City, Olympic, all within that stone's throw of each other. So if you've got Virginia, Wolves, Strikers, Olympic and City, all in that catchment under the Brisbane United banner, what a team they would put together if they could combine forces.
That won't happen because everyone wants their own thing.
It probably won't happen, but imagine if they were able to pull that off. What a team they could put
in
together.
Hindsight, it would be a great idea, but I can't imagine Olympic or City or anything else jumping on the bandwagon with the Strikers and winning. They want to go out of the way.
Yep. I've got vaguely in touch with Gold Coast Knights and Gold Coast United. They did have some talks about putting in a joint bid, but they were quickly waved away, which is a shame because I think that would have been a fantastic idea as well.
Standing on the second division model was that it would be existing clubs rather than joint bids. That was the way I read the initial, I suppose, information around expressing interest. That it's about, because the A-League is what we're talking about in regards to these joint type bids or people coming together, and then perhaps there being some foundation clubs that provide a pathway to their players, as I think that the Brisbane United bid looks like. But I mean, I don't know. Is that more of an A-League, or is that an A-League model type bid? Whereas I thought the understanding of the second division was it's existing clubs with history, with culture that'll, looking to progress beyond their local based competitions and move into this second division. But, I suppose there's 36 or whatever there is entries, and I think they've said between 10 and 14 will be what forms a league. So.
You're going to say that, Adam?
I dare say that I suppose those clubs that have come together are probably running that argument, Danny, that they are still they are a club that's operating now. They're just joined with another club to form a combined club. Whereas instead of just forming a brand new entity. But I think I sort of had heard the same. So it was surprising to see those joint bids, I suppose. But good to see a few teams from Brisbane put their hands up, or Brisbane and Gold Coast, South East Queensland put their hands up. So it'll be good to see and interesting to see where it gets to.
I'm a bit disappointed, of course, that none of the Ipswich clubs decided that there's a lot of history out in the western suburbs, especially with Knights. And I don't know whether there was the right model for them in the end or what. But I know that Western Pride was certainly involved in the initial discussions when they first started throwing it about. I think last couple of years, I think they might have pulled out. Maybe they didn't see what they like. I don't know. I haven't really had that sort of discussion with them. But just a bit disappointed that, like the Brisbane United bid, why some of the Ipswich clubs didn't become a united front. But some of the clubs don't get on in the back rooms, I guess, and it's probably just held them back a bit. I think maybe.
Yeah, no Dinmore Bush Rats, no Cold Stars putting their hands up. Very disappointing.
Well, to be honest, Cold Stars, St Helens, they're the old Ipswich United from the 80s. The Ipswich Knights hold the history of Ipswich football. And I don't know. Maybe they just didn't like the model. Maybe they just couldn't afford it. But just a bit disappointing, without knowing the reasons, of course. But would have been nice,
Yeah. All right, guys. I just want to wrap up the show with another question to Danny and Adam. Given your position in the pyramid, the Australian Cup, when that draw comes out, and let's say you get a favourable draw, how do you view this competition? Is it a free hit? Is it something that you think, well, if we get through a couple of rounds, we can give it an almighty shake? How do you guys approach it?
Danny?
Me first. Probably that last comment, Darren. If it's a favourable draw, then and you get results and it works out your way, then great. But that, given only 3 teams from this part of Queensland can qualify, you're going to have to be, unless you get the most favourable of draws, a Penn Power, Gold Coast Knights, lines at some point. So, yeah, I mean, I think you take the early rounds for what they are. And especially now this year, it's changed a little bit. I think the first couple of, or the round 4 and 5 were potentially, at least one of those was a weekend round. Now they're all midweek. And yeah, getting players up for midweek games is always a challenge, always difficult, depending on who you draw and where you travel and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it's a difficult one this year. It's a different dynamic with all midweek games, but yeah, I mean, if favourable draw, great. If not, then blood some young boys and get some game time into players that need it, all those sorts of things. So I think yeah, take it as it comes. Depending on the week that the game falls on as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think yeah, we've got our first game in a couple of weeks, and it's a midweeker. So we'll obviously have to look at the balance of the squad and see if any players need a break or need a rest going into the weekend. I mean, I think if you ask all the players, they'll all want to play. But I suppose from our point of view, as the coaching staff, we've obviously got to manage those players through. So I think it's a little bit of balancing act early days. But then obviously if you do progress, then things start to get a little bit more serious, and you sort of start to throw a little bit more on the line, because I think at the end of the day, if you ask the players, they'd be chomping at the bit to get into those final games and make the round of 32. So yeah, very similar to Danny in that approach.
Who did you get in the next round, Adam?
Ipswich Knights.
Okay. What about you, Danny?
You're through, Adam.
We'll go to the gap.
Okay.
Jesus.
All right. So yeah, potentially winnable fixtures, and if you get over the line there, then see what happens.
See what? Well, the next draw has been made as well, so they've done 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And then we've got someone that's potentially in our comp. We'll go Magic, or I think Sunny Coast. And again, so that's a game on either coast midweek. So you weigh all those things up. The other thing is, the NPL clubs, the strong NPL clubs, take the competition seriously. They want to qualify. I know that in Victoria, in my time there in the first couple of years, those NPL clubs used it as a midweek fixture, didn't take it as seriously because didn't realise what, I suppose, benefit in those early years of the cup would come from qualifying for the round of 32. If you look back, I think 2014, 2015, a couple of lower league clubs in Melbourne and from Victoria made the national rounds because they were able to upset some higher ranked opponents who took didn't take the competition as seriously as it's taken now. So, again, there's no surprise that, the representatives from Queensland have been pretty consistent in recent years, because they do take the competition seriously and they prepare for it accordingly.
Good stuff. All right, guys, we might wrap it up there. We've been going on for quite a bit here, and we got through the show with only about 20% cliche, so that's not too bad a ratio.
Darren, can I just say something just real quick? Shout out to Wynnum Wolves, who again are fighting with their facilities to keep them safe and secure. They had more break-ins and more vandalism. I think it was Sunday afternoon, Sunday night when they were out here at Ipswich playing Pride. I think they've taken advantage of them not being there, and shocking. They just got they're back on their feet after the floods, and now they're dealing with all this again. So again, unfortunately, another shout out to them. To hopefully they can get through all this and they can keep all their facilities protected.
Well said, Liam. All right, that is our show, guys. Thank you for tuning in. This is the format now. We get coaches in on the show. So, and we've got a few more leagues kicking off next week. So we'll preview those as well. Until then, we will see you. This has been the Village Law SEQFC preview show. See ya.
Stay on the line.